You're listening to a podcast from Faith Baptist Church of Winter Haven, Florida. Our purpose is to worship God and equip believers to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you'd like more information, please visit faithbaptistwh.org.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I thought I'd start us off with an icebreaker question today to get us back in the mindset of Ecclesiastes. Of course, one of the major themes throughout this book is that everything is meaningless, right? Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Or futile, pointless, meaningless. Of course, we've already started to see how this perspective of meaninglessness can be helpful for us. And we're starting to see how to balance that perspective with what is worthwhile. So we've got this idea of everything is just, it's meaningless, there's no point to it, right? But then now, in the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon has started to tell us what's better than, or what is worthwhile for us to pursue. So as we think about the upcoming holiday season of Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, I want us to think about both sides of this balance. Let's first start with this. In what ways do you feel the sense of meaninglessness or vanity around the holiday season? Anybody want to start us off? Yeah. An abundance of gifts. Okay, so are you thinking that's like meaningless on the side of giving that abundance or receiving that abundance?
I think it's an overabundance of consumerism. That's where.
Yep, consumerism. Yep, every commercial trying to get you to buy more things, buy the next toy, right? Yep. Okay. How else is the holiday season just filled with some meaninglessness and vanity?
Because if we don't focus on the season or what the season is really supposed to be focused on, which is, we know it's not the exact birth of Christ, but that's the whole point of it. Instead, we're focusing on, as you said, a lot of commercialism, a lot of things that are worldly.
Yeah.
We should focus on the purpose and the meaning of the season.
Yeah, there's certainly people struggling with a wrong focus of, I want this, I want that. I think it goes beyond just consumerism, too. It goes beyond just materialism. It's not just the things that we want. There's also like family relationships at play there, too, right? So any other thoughts on what's meaningless?
High expectation. Instead of just enjoying what it is, you already have a sight on your thought. I'm just so guilty of that. I just know it's going to be this way.
Yeah.
And something else, and trying to get my brain to go, but that's okay.
Yeah. Our expectations tend to climb, like, oh yeah, my daughter's coming in to visit us, and oh, I've got a cousin coming in, and I'm excited for all the conversations we're going to have. And then you start having those conversations and they get frustrating, and you're not getting the familial closeness that you wanted or expected around the holiday season, and that can get frustrating. For sure. Yeah, our expectations get in the way. Anything else? Yeah?
The moment these holidays start getting close, she becomes the most unhappy person I know. She envisions it's going to be a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Our expectations can become such a value. I don't think that we would honestly say that it's an expectation that we want things to go so smoothly around the holidays, but we hope for it, right? And that hope becomes so strong that if you don't get it, you start to sin. I get frustrated. I start lashing out, right? So what's the test of an idol? Well, if I don't get the thing that I want, am I willing to sin to get it? If I am, then that's an idol, right? That's become something that I'm valuing too much, right? Yeah, so yeah, buying and receiving gifts can feel pointless, can feel wasteful even. I mean, just tearing up all that paper and then throwing the wrapping paper in the garbage, right? Spending time with unsaved family members or just frustrating family members can feel futile. A worldly focus on happiness, right? Just the this car will make you happy, or these clothes will make you happy, right? That can sap our satisfaction. All right, before we let this conversation just run away from us and depress us some more, let's try to balance it with what Solomon has said is worthwhile. So let me remind us of something Solomon said back in chapter 2 to kind of set the tone, to help us think about what's worthwhile around this holiday season. So this is in chapter 2. It says, "There is nothing better for a person than to eat, drink, and enjoy his work. I have seen that even this is from God's hand, because who can eat and who can enjoy life apart from him? For to the person who is pleasing in his sight, he gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy. But to the sinner he gives the task of gathering and accumulating in order to give it to the one who is pleasing in God's sight. This too is futile and a pursuit of the wind." So with this in mind, what would be worthwhile and good for us to pursue in this holiday season? What's worthwhile, according to Solomon, for us to pursue this holiday season? Yeah.
Our relationship with Christ.
Our relationship with Christ, absolutely. Yep. Growing closer to him and thinking about him being born as a baby his whole life. Yep, Sam? Resting in Christ as well. Yeah, absolutely. Jeremiah?
The actual true meaning of Christmas.
Say that again?
The actual true meaning of Christmas.
The actual true meaning of Christmas, yeah. And keep in mind, it's good for us to have both of these polar opposites in mind, right? Because when I'm faced with that meaninglessness of consumerism, and I'm like, man, that's pointless. It leads me to think about the thing that is worthwhile to think about, right? Well, if buying all these gifts is pointless, what is the point of Christmas? How do I enjoy Christmas like I'm supposed to, right? Any other thoughts? Yes.
Blessing others.
Blessing others, yeah. So we talked about giving gifts, and certainly giving gifts can feel futile at times. Like, it's like, all right, I'm going to buy this kid a toy, and it's probably going to go in the trash within the week, all right? But that doesn't stop us from enjoying that, like, I'm going to try to love and serve this person. Gift giving is a way to love someone. It's saying, hey, I love you, I care for you, and I'm trying to consider your interests, right? Yeah. What else? Yeah.
Even though the catalyst to all of those other things is just like you said, even though we don't want to lose our focus, focusing on our family, our friends, focusing on the good things, because during the holiday season, there is this phenomenon that happens to a lot of people where they have a heart of giving.
Yeah.
They're kinder to other people than they are during the rest of the year. Now, yes, we should be like that the whole 365.
Yeah.
But people tend to be a little bit more tolerant. They're a little bit more loving. Families get together when they probably won't get together again.
Yeah.
And relationships are mended sometimes during this season. So, like you said, some things are meaningless, but some things are meaningful.
Yeah, so instead of necessarily focusing on getting everybody the gift that they want, even though that's a way to love and serve them, you're saying that even just spending time with them and trying to love them and be with them, be present with them, that can be a present in and of itself, for sure. Yeah. Any other thoughts here? Jeremiah?
So I noticed that we're talking about the Christmas season. Isn't this Thanksgiving season?
Absolutely. I'm rolling all of these holidays into one season because when you get older, it just blows by you. It's Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, I can breathe, right? Yeah, it's all bundled into one. That's why people put up Christmas decorations early. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Any other thoughts on what's worthwhile to pursue? There's something from this verse. Yes. Yeah. Having seen both ends of that spectrum of wealth, it certainly puts things in perspective as far as what do I need? What do I want? Do I actually need this? Am I okay without this? Yes, of course. I've seen people who are much happier with less. I'm just going to repeat this from chapter 2. He says, "For to the person who is pleasing in his sight, He gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy. Right? So that's worthwhile to pursue this Christmas season, right? Being pleasing in God's sight, rather than in man's sight, right? Rather than pleasing those family members and trying to fulfill all these expectations when we have visitors come in. It's more, how can I please God when they come? How can I please God in what I say to them? How can I please God in how I serve them and love them? How can I please God in maybe what I hold back from saying sometimes, right? It's a hard balance. I know that it is. Family can be the hardest people to minister to and to love, but that's what God has called us to. That's specifically the people that he gives us to minister to. So what I'm getting at here is the holiday season is certainly, your perspective matters, right? We need to be reminded that there are things that are worth focusing on and things worth thinking about, and then there's certainly things that are not worth pursuing or thinking about. But even the frustratingly meaningless side of things can help us remind us of the better things, the things that are actually worthwhile. So when you get hit with all those like materialistic consumer advertisements about just buy more things, just remember, meaningless. This is meaningless. But then what does it point to that is worthwhile? What's the thing that lasts forever where this one thing won't, right? So in a few weeks, I'm really excited to travel up to Virginia to spend time with my in-laws. And if you think of my family, just please pray for safe travels and for my family to get healthy before we leave. Theo recently got sick, and then right before getting better, he caught hand, foot, and mouth, which is not fun for little ones. So Kayla's been staying home to try to prevent that spread. And thankfully, next week, Pastor Dave has offered to teach through Ecclesiastes chapter 9. And then we won't have, I'll still be here that next week, but I won't teach. He'll teach for us. And then when we come back, the week of Thanksgiving, we won't meet. And the week that we come back, Pastor Dave will teach one more time. So he gets chapter 9 and 10, and then I'll finish out the last two chapters after that. I'm so thankful for a team of pastors that we can cover for each other like this and better help us to enjoy that time of rest. But with that being said, let's dive into chapter 8 today. Could I have a volunteer read first from the New King James Version, if possible? There's a couple of word choices in the New King James that I think is good for us to read today. Does anybody have that one? Anybody reading from the New King James? All right, Sam, you got it?
Okay. Who is like a wise man, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the sternness of his face is changed. I say, keep the king's commandment for the sake of your oath to God. Do not be hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand for an evil thing, for he does whatever pleases him. Where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say to him, what are you doing? He who keeps his command will experience nothing harmful, and a wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment. Because for every matter there is a time and judgment, though the misery of man increases greatly. For he does not know what will happen, so who can tell him when it will occur? No one has power over the Spirit to retain the Spirit, and no one has power in the day of death. There is no release from that war, and wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it. All this I have seen and applied my heart to every work that is done under the sun. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. Then I saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of holiness, and they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. This also is vanity, because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner does evil 100 times, and his days are prolonged, yet I surely know that it will be well with those who fear God, who fear before him. But it will not be well with the wicked, nor will he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he does not fear before God. There is a vanity which occurs on earth, that there are just men to whom it happens according to the work of the wicked. Again, there are wicked men to whom it happens according to the work of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity. So I commended enjoyment, because a man has nothing better under the sun than to eat, drink, and be merry. For this will remain with him in his labor all the days of his life, which God gives him under the sun. When I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to see the business that is done on earth, even though one sees no sleep day or night. Then I saw all the work of God, that a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. For though a man labors to discover it, yet he will not find it. Moreover, though a wise man attempts to know it, and he will not be able to find it.
Perfect, thank you. And then could I have a volunteer to read from the CSB? Eve.
Who is like the wise person, and who knows the interpretation of a matter? A wise person's wisdom brightens his face, and the sternness of his face is changed. Keep the king's command because of your oath made before God. Do not be in a hurry, leave his presence, and don't persist in a bad case, since he will do whatever he wants. For the king's word is authoritative, and who can say to him, "What are you doing?" The one who keeps a command will not experience anything harmful, and a wise heart knows the right time and procedure. For every activity there is a right time and procedure, even though a person's troubles are heavy on him. Yet no one knows what will happen, because who can tell him what will happen? No one has authority over the wind to restrain it, and there is no authority over the day of death. No one is discharged during battle, and wickedness will not allow those who practice it to escape. All this I have seen, applying my mind to all the work that is done under the sun, at a time when one person has authority over another to his harm. In such circumstances I saw the wicked buried. They came and went from the holy place, and they were praised in the city when they did those things. This too is futile, because the sentence against an evil act is not carried out quickly. The heart of people is filled with the desire to commit evil. Although a sinner does evil 100 times and prolongs his life, I also know that it will go well with God-fearing people, for they are reverent before him. However, it will not go well with the wicked, and they will not lengthen their days like a shadow, for they are not reverent before God. There is a futility that is done on the earth. There are righteous people who get what the actions of the wicked deserve, and there are wicked people who get what the actions of the righteous deserve. I say this too is futile. So I commended enjoyment, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun to eat, drink, and enjoy himself, for this will accompany him in his labor during the days of his life that God gives him under the sun. When I applied to my mind to know wisdom and observe the activity that is done under the earth, even though one's eyes do not close and sleep day or night, I observed all the work of God and concluded that a person is unable to discover the work that is done under the sun. Even though a person labors hard to explore it, he cannot find it. Even if a wise person claims to know it, he is unable to discover it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, we've got to fly through our questions today. We spent a little too much time on our icebreaker. Here's our first discussion question. What observations does Solomon make about the wise person in this first yellow section here, verses 1 through 9? What observations does he make about the wise person? Sam?
Wisdom brightens his face and his countenance.
Yes, wisdom brightens his face, and the sternness of his face is changed. So wisdom makes somebody seem joyful. Is that fair to say? It seems like that's what's going on. What else? Don?
Verse 5 says that they can live in peace because they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you said verse 5, the one who keeps a command will not experience anything harmful. Right? This is specifically tied into verse 4 here, right? He's talking about a king's word is authoritative, who can say to him, what are you doing? So he's like, hey, if you just follow the king's command, you're not going to get in trouble, right? So, I mean, teenagers, if you just follow your parents' instructions, their commands, you won't get in trouble, right? What else? What other observations about the wise person do we see here? They'll know the right time to do something. Yep, there's there's a right time for a procedure, even though a person's troubles are heavy on him, right? So there's even the wise heart knows the right time and procedure, and that's again tying back up to the king, right? So we're dealing with a king who's just kind of doing whatever he wants. And he's like, hey, the wise heart will know how to handle that in the right time. There's a procedure for that. There's a wise way of going about that. What else? Yeah.
In the first verse, it says, a person wisdom and brightness his face, and the sunrise of his face in change.
Right, yeah. So he's more joyful. I mean, he stands out from among the crowd. Yeah, what else? Yep. I think there's another one in verse 1. Can you pull that at least? Sam?
I like how the NLT verse worded it. It says, how wonderful to be wise to analyze and interpret things.
How wonderful to be wise to analyze and interpret things. So who is like the wise person who knows the interpretation of a matter? So this is like he's got the right perspective, right? Like his worldview is a godly worldview. And so when he sees something happening, he can understand what's going on, right? Yep, so the wise person understands. What else? Any other observations here? Yes. Bingo. Yeah, the wise person knows that they're going to die, accepts that, and moves on, instead of trying to prolong their days like we're about to see in the next section of the wicked sinner, right? Yep. I think going back to verse 4, focusing on this king, the wise person submits to God-ordained authority, right? Think about Romans 13. This is probably where Paul is quoting from. He's going right back to Ecclesiastes. It's wise to submit to your government. It's wise to submit to those who are in charge of you. And then verse 3, don't be in a hurry. Okay, so we're talking about a wise person here, right? Who, again, is keeping the command because of the oath made before God. So we submit to authority because that authority comes from God, and we recognize that. But then we say, don't be in a hurry. Okay, don't be impulsive. Okay, don't be emotional. Okay, don't let this, weigh out, don't be so dynamic in how you react to things. Be stable. Calm down. Don't be in a hurry to leave. And then also, don't persist in a bad cause. The wise person does not persist in doing evil. The believer does not persist in being sinful, right? If you say, hey, this is sin, I need to drop it, right? I can't keep going on in this. Yeah, verse 8, no one has authority over the wind to restrain it. There's no authority over the day of death. Remember, this is before Christ, isn't it? Who has defeated death? Jesus has. Well, that changes things for us too, doesn't it? Right? Because he says right here, no one is discharged during battle. The Hebrew's hard here. And I don't even know that much Hebrew, and I know it's hard. This idea, no one is discharged from the battle, it's saying they're not freed from trying to outlive death. We're all in bondage to trying to live for as long as we can, right? Sam, what do you have?
The NLT says it really well. There is no escaping that obligation, that dark battle.
That dark battle. There's no escaping the obligation of that. We're all going to face it. We have to face it. Right? And then wickedness will not allow those who practice it to escape. So if you are wicked, you're going to deal with wickedness in your life. Right? All right, let's move on to the next section here. There's so much application that we could have just for that. But looking at verses 10 through 14, what observations does Solomon make about the wicked here? Done. They just dropped that guy in a hole and moved on. Yep. His life came to an end. He ended up in a hole. Yep, like the rest of us. Sam?
Again, I'm really liking how NLT is wording this.
I do too, yep. That's what I use for family devotions.
Verse 10 says, I have seen wicked people buried with honor, yet they were the very ones who frequented the temple and now praised in the same city where they committed their crimes. Verse 2 is
Yeah, so the NLT captures that. So like they came and went from the holy place, right? The wicked is who we're talking about here. So they're going into a holy place. Let's just make this modern for us. They're going to church, right? And they were praised in the city. They were praised among other unbelievers because they go to church. But this is futile. But in NLT it says that they do those crimes. So they go to the holy place, and then they leave the holy place, and then they do all the things that are evil. Oh, that's bad. Okay, what else? What other observations do you see here about the wicked? You got another one, Sam?
Yeah. So it also says that the wicked, when they're not chastised quickly, they continue on.
Yeah, the sentence, so we could say the punishment against an evil act is not carried out quickly, right? And this happens. Everybody is they are innocent until proven guilty. There's a process that goes into declaring somebody guilty or innocent, and so it takes time to go through that. Because what Solomon is saying here is because it takes time, this actually leads to a heart of people being filled with the desire to commit evil. Okay, because I know that I'm probably not going to get in trouble right away. I'm just going to do the things that I want to do. Right? Yeah, what else?
I know they do all this bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yep.
okay, I'm only a Christian on Sunday. It's a hard time Christian.
Yeah. This is as much of a problem today, maybe more,
Maybe even more.
than as it was back then. Yep. What else? Sam?
The wicked are not going to lengthen their days.
Now this is fun because it says they won't lengthen their days. They will not lengthen their days. But then a sinner does evil 100 times, and what's the result? There's some tension. He does evil, and his life is prolonged. But then 13, however, it won't go well with the wicked. They will not lengthen their days like a shadow.
Is there a difference between the words for wicked and sinner in this context?
No, we're still talking about the same people here. There's tension here because, again, from a worldly perspective, there's things that we can do to secure ourselves, right? Like financial stability, just physical protection, cameras on my house, right? There's things that I can do to preserve myself. Does that mean that I'm going to live any longer than what God has ordained? No. However, they will not lengthen their days. So they're going to do all these things, which seems to lengthen their days, but it won't work.
But their life won't be a life of light.
Yeah, it's going to be like a shadow.
Yeah, a shadow. It's going to be a shadow of a light.
Yep.
It may seem to be
Yeah.
lighter, but it's not going to be a substance.
Like longer in days, but not in substance.
I think the best way to think about this is seeing those people on Instagram, on social media that just look like they're having a blast in life, and then you kind of know, like, it's all fake. They're just showing themselves to be, like, living it up, and then there's no substance there. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on a little bit here to finish this up. Verses 15 through 17, what does Solomon suggest is worth seeking in these verses, and how can we practically pursue this? What's worthwhile to pursue? Enjoyment. I commended enjoyment. Okay, Don? Simplicity. Where did you pull that? What verse was that in here?
Well, it's not there specifically, but if you're just eating, drinking, and enjoying yourself, you're living a fairly simple life. You're not living,
Right. One pastor said this about this passage, so you're right on the money here. He said, the simplest satisfactions are the surest. The simplest satisfactions are the surest. I love that. Enjoying the food and drink. Yeah.
Just an observation from the book of Ecclesiastes. It's interesting how eat, drink, enjoy in chapter 2 and this chapter are also associated with labor.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be, I'm noticing that they're constantly being paired together.
For this will accompany him in his labor during the days of his life that God gives him under the sun. So I'm supposed to find ways to enjoy my work. This was from the creation. He gave us work. He wanted us to enjoy it. Yeah.
In verse 17, then it says, the work of God is better than the work that is done under the sun.
Yeah, the work of God is worthwhile to observe. But then he says it's unable, a person is unable to discover the work that is done under the sun. So I can't see everything that's going on, right? And there's so many works of God that he cannot find it, right? Yeah, what else?
The intention. The wicked people are doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're eating, drinking, and seeking him.
Right, but this goes...
It's all about them.
True, but I think there's a difference here.
Whereas if you want true, it's in seeing it as a gift from God. That
Yeah.
we need to enjoy what He's given us.
Yeah, we have to enjoy the simple things of what he gives. Whatever hardship or task he's given us in the season, there's something that he wants me to find to enjoy him in, to be thankful for, right? Yeah. Anything else?
Difference between enjoying life because you see it as a gift from God and just enjoying life because life itself is an idol and like
Yeah. So yeah, we can certainly make an idol out of eating, drinking, and enjoying life, right? So this goes back all the way to chapter 2, which I quoted, which was saying, who can enjoy life apart from him? So think about, let's move forward now, 1 Corinthians 10. Is that what you were going to quote? Yep. Whether you eat or drink, those simple things that we're talking about here, do all for the glory of God. Okay, so there's a way to enjoy life for God's glory, right? What else sticks out to you from this? All right, well, I've got a little bit written down here that I wanted to share. This might be a weird question for you Baptists, myself included, but how many of you have heard of a catechism? Just show of hands, catechism, okay? So if you haven't heard of a catechism, it's worth looking up. It's essentially a summary of what Christianity teaches in a question and answer format. Churches have used catechisms in the past to disciple their people, to disciple their children. It's a great format. My kids love catechism questions. They're like begging me to ask them the questions. Perhaps one of the most important catechism questions is this. What is the purpose of your life? What is man's chief end, is the way that the Westminster Catechism puts it. But what's the purpose of your life? You know, I had a college professor who drilled this question into us and said that they wanted to be able to break into our dorm room, shake us awake in the middle of the night, and ask us, what's your purpose in life? And for us to just rattle off the answer. All right, so here's the answer. The purpose of your life is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. Glorify God, enjoy him forever. Now, this is very similar to the key that we found at the end of Ecclesiastes, isn't it? To glorify God, to keep his commands, and enjoy him. Now, one of the main reasons that I love John Piper is because he has helped me understand how glorifying God and enjoying him fit together. For a long time, I thought, well, he's calling me to glorify him, but that means I have to not do all these things that I enjoy, right? So I have to give up enjoyment to glorify God. I can't find the balance here. But John Piper, he helped me understand this just by changing one of the words in that answer. He said this: the purpose of your life is to glorify God by enjoying him forever. By enjoying him forever. Right? So, in other words, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. When I learn how to find my satisfaction in all those little things in him, that's when he's most glorified. And when we are satisfied by God, it's really easy to follow his commands, isn't it? When I know that his commands are good and worthwhile, it's easy for me to follow that. All right. I could make a whole sermon out of that. Here's one last question. I know I'm a little over on time. What confusing phrases or verses do you have questions about? Yes.
verse 3, the translation differences are a little strange to me.
Yeah.
In the New King James, it's do not be hasty to go from his presence.
Mm-hmm.
And the CSB, do not be in a hurry. Leave his presence and don't persist in bad cause. The way it's worded is a little strange.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of the translations as well. What did the NLT say?
NLT those who plot evil, for the king can do whatever he wants.
It's pretty fragmented in that verse, doesn't it? It looks like that. So there's this like, don't be in a hurry phrase. And then there's this, leave his presence, and sorry, not that line there, and don't persist in a bad cause, which you could argue is two things there. It's a conjunction. Since he will do whatever he wants. So there's the reason to not do the things ahead of it. I honestly had a lot of questions on that too. It's kind of confusing. I'm not sure which translation makes the most sense, but I think what we can say from this pretty firmly is that there is a way to be hasty that results in wrongdoing, right? There's a impulsivity that we ought to avoid in this. Yeah. I don't know if that fully answers your question. I still have some questions about that verse too. But anything else? All right. There were a few here. So again, Pastor Dave's going to hang out after I'm gone. So you can ask him all your questions on that. Let me pray for us, and then I'm going to take our students to go discuss this. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you that you brought everyone here safely, and that we could just open your word and think about this upcoming holiday season and all the vanity that can come with it. Lord, I pray that you would help us to have the right perspective. Give us a godly worldview that brightens our face. Lord, please help us to stand out among everyone else this Christmas season, this Thanksgiving season, because we are content and satisfied fully in you. Lord, I pray that you would give us more satisfaction in you that results in a greater loving obedience. It's in your Son's name that I pray. Amen.